Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to 3D BPM's new webinar. I hope that everybody can hear me correctly. I'd like to ask my collaborators to let me know if the audio is not coming through clearly. But once again, welcome everybody. Just a quick presentation to just kind of let you know who we are and what we're doing here. So for those who don't know us, we are 3D BPM. Our company is the marketing agency and publisher that specializes in the additive manufacturing industry. We cover the industry through a number of publications, including 3D Printing Media Network, 3D Printing Business Directory, and also some localized publications for local markets such as Italy, Spain, and now China too. We, as an editorial company, our publications have a calendar that we follow, and this calendar is divided into 24 AM focus, which are special sections where we try to focus on specific verticals of the AM industry, which, as you probably all know, is the most horizontal industry there is. So we need to focus on specific things. We've done this through these AM focus, and in many of these, to just kind of go more in depth into the market, we hold and we organize these webinars where we can talk with people who are really pioneering and leading these specific industry segments. This is a way for us to really kind of go more in depth into a specific industry segment through the testimonies of people who are really, taking the technology in new directions and exploring and discovering new applications and materials. So this time, we've been focusing on, in the past, we've focused on materials, we've focused on applications like orthopedics, even on eyewear, even on consumer applications. We try to look at AM for production. That's really our main focus of all these webinars, of all these specials that we run. This time, we're going to look at the maritime industry. And by maritime industry, we're going to include also some what we define as marine applications. So not just the large size shipping, large size ship industry, but also yachting applications. And also we're going to touch a little bit upon oil and gas, which has a very, very, very a lot of similarities with the maritime transportation industry and shipping. So without further ado, first of all, I would like to give you some information on this webinar and how you can participate. The audience, the participation is always very, very good. It's been outstanding in all our webinars, so thank you. In this webinar, we're going to hear from Valeria Tirelli, who is the CEO of Hydro. It's a company that's been doing some work with additive manufacturing, especially SLM technology, in complex manifolds and sub-assemblies, so complex geometries. We're going to hear from Stephen Tirelli, CTO of Speed, is an Australian company that's been developing a high-speed, literally high-speed technology, and we're going to hear more about how it works. It's an ultrasonic technology to make large-size metal parts. And then we're going to hear from Francesco Belvisi. So we were initially going to hear from Daniele Cevola, but Daniele is not able to make it. But Francesco is the co-founder together with Daniele of Ocor, and he's going to be speaking about their unique composite 3D printing technology, so composite extrusion technology for large parts. So the reason why we're gonna, I'm sorry, let me just to finish up, you're free to answer questions. So just write your questions and we will answer them as we get to them after the presentations. And also, if you have any additional questions, you're free to write us to webinars@3dbpm.com for any questions you may have, and also to follow up on the materials. The reason why we're gonna cover the maritime industry now, where we're interested in the maritime industry, is because, especially in the last couple of years, this industry has begun to really show a much more significant interest in AM applications. Not that this interest started more than a couple of years ago, but now the technologies have reached throughput capabilities and size capabilities and material capabilities that are really starting to become interesting for maritime industry companies and marine industry companies and oil and gas industry companies to really look at these technologies for production. And that means that we could be looking at much higher growth rates over the past few years. Just to kind of give you an idea of where we think the market is going to go. So usually we try to present some market data. We don't have market data on the maritime industry yet because, like I said, it's really an early at a relatively early stage of adoption. But we do have some data on the oil and gas industry, and we think oil and gas could be evolving into a 2.6 billion industry within 10 years or so, and that would include all hardware sales, all material sales, and all application sales or value of the applications. So let's look at what these applications are with the people who are producing, who are developing the technologies and to produce these applications. So the first person that I'm going to turn the controls over to is Valeria Tirelli from Hydro. Valeria, I'm going to now make you the presenter, and you should be able to now share your presentation.
Okay, perfect. So hello everybody, I hope you can see my screen. So this will be a short presentation about my company. It's Hydro, hydraulics and 3D printing, and we will speak about the marine industry in additive manufacturing. Okay, just a minute. Okay, we are based in Italy, in the north part of Italy, not far from Milan, in a very nice green area near Lake Maggiore. And we, of course, take profit from the nice wedding now springtime in Italy. But who is Hydro? Hydro is a leading company, a small, medium company in hydraulics. Hydraulics is the use of fluids under pressure to generate, control, and transmit power. This is really a specific application. Hydraulics is spread in many, many sectors. And now we will speak about marine and maritime. The company was founded more or less 40 years ago, and we have a very huge technical expertise. A few years ago, 6 years ago, we introduced additive manufacturing, and now we have a department dedicated to the design and to the production with laser power bed fusion. So we do metal parts in additive manufacturing. A very short overview about our core activities. We do the engineering and the custom-made design for our customers. We do the production and the assembly of the traditional hydraulics, and also now we do the metal 3D printing for special application. We have also CNC machine. We do the testing of the majority of our hydraulics components. And because we are a small company, we are also very fast. So we reply to our customer in a very fast way. That's why additive manufacturing is a perfect technology for us. And we are certified 9100 in this ISO certification. Now about marine and maritime application. There are a lot of hydraulics components in this sector.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm having reports that we don't see your PowerPoint. Can you make sure that that you're sharing your screen?
Okay.
It should be an icon in the top left. Wait, let me just make sure you are set as presenter. Okay. Okay, so now we see your screen. Sorry, I think maybe it wasn't, I hadn't set you as presenter.
Okay, so maybe I have to come back to the.
No, now we see it. Now we see it fine.
Maybe I can come back from this.
Yes, please. I'm sorry about this, but
Sorry. So again, just very few slides. So we are based in Italy. This is our company in the north part of Italy, not far from Milan. And again, who is Hydro? We are a leading company in hydraulics, and hydraulics is the use of fluids under pressure to generate and transmit power. We have more or less 40 years of technical experience, and now we are using additive manufacturing to produce metal parts. So we are using the laser power bed technology. A very short overview about our core activities. We do engineering and design of for our customers. So we do custom-made solution, the production and the metal 3D printing. We do this in-house with our 3D metal printer. We do the testing and the machining of our parts. And because we are a small company, we are well known to be a very fast, do fast delivery and to fast reply to our customers. And now about hydraulics component in marine and maritime application. As I told you, hydraulics is a very wide application. For example, in sailing, as you can see, we have a lot of propeller that can use the hydraulics power. In the yacht, for example, we have other hydraulics components, and also in the jet ski, we have, for example, the manifolds, exhaust manifolds. And in the vessels, of course, there are a lot of need of power to move the systems. So we have the hydraulic systems inside the vessels. And now, what about our typical application of additive manufacturing? As I told you, we have chosen a few years ago this technology because we have a very high pressure inside our products, so we need a very high density. That's why we decided to have the metal additive manufacturing, and we decided for the laser power bed fusion technology. We do different material depending on the application, stainless steel, titanium, Inconel, or aluminum. So it depends on the application. But what is really important that I have to say, that additive manufacturing completely changed our minds and our approach to the design. We found in additive manufacturing a very high power to solve the problems and to have new solutions that were impossible before. And now I want to show you one of our best example of manifolds. This is very lightweight manifold and complex. From this is the traditional manifolds made from the metal bar. This is made in aluminum and the weight is 5 kilo. This is traditional made with CNC machining. We have redesigned it to have a very light solution, and we arrived at this manifold that is only 1.3 kilo. So we have 75% weight reduction. This is really impressive, and this is really important for application where we need to save the weights to have a lower consumption of energy. Also, for example, in sailing, this is really important, or in other mobile application. This is another example of what is the advantage to use additive manufacturing in the manifolds. This is an exhaust manifolds with cooling channel inside. So we have integrated two functions into one, and we have made one unique solution that can solve a problem to have the cooling inside the manifolds. We have very many advantages in additive manufacturing specialized for hydraulics application. As I told you, we have very complex shapes in a very easy way and without have higher cost. And our shapes can fit in the available space. So we can do very custom-made manifolds, for example, fitting in the small space inside the boat. We have very light solution if the weight is important, and also we can combine multiple parts into one, so we can simplify the assembling of the hydraulic systems, and we can integrate more function into one. This is the example of the cooling channel inside the manifolds. Of course, this technology is perfect to have a customized solution. And in many cases where the standard production is not suitable, with additive manufacturing, we can arrive at the very best solution, best product for this application in a very fast way, not only for prototypes, but also for the spare parts. For the marine and maritime sector, we see that there is a very big interest in spare parts, especially for the old vessels, for example, because a lot of spare parts are not more existing. And with additive manufacturing, we can reproduce one-to-one a copy of the old parts in a very short lead time. Another example of hydraulics manifolds, you can see on your left, the traditional manufactured manifolds. It's very square shapes, very heavy. And on your right, the hydraulics manifold made in additive manufacturing. Again, 75% weight reduction and a very small size. This is important, for example, for the boat or for the yacht, where there is a small space available for the hydraulic systems. And now another example, this is an heat exchanger. This is special for the big vessels where they have a lot of heat exchanger, water, oil, for example. Instead to have the traditional one on your left, more or less 11 kilo, we can have the same function only in 1.5 kilo. So it's 85% weight reduction and a very small size. How to do everything? We have our internal department now from the design to the 3D printing, because to develop the best design and the best 3D printed product, we have our activities inside. The biggest part is the design, because as I told you at the beginning, we have a new approach to the design. It's a completely free design compared to the traditional way. And now we are, say, able to imagine innovative solutions that were not possible before. We use the technology, as I told you, laser power bed fusion, and we have our machine inside. And of course, we do all the other activities like machining, control the shapes, make the measurements, and also all the tests, because it's really important to have the process under control, especially for applications like maritime and oil and gas. So we do the testing on the powder, so the raw material, on the printing, and on the mechanical properties. And the best part, as I told you, we have a lot of idea now, new idea to solve the situation that seems impossible before. And now we have inside, in our team, a very open-minded people that can have new idea. We are more flexible and have, of course, a lot of creativity, and we are able to face new challenges. Thanks to additive manufacturing, now we can see the possible solution of a lot of different situations. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm here ready to answer to your question.
Thank you very much for that, Valeria. Really fantastic. I really had no idea it was that significant a weight reduction on some parts. So with Valeria, we discussed how small intricate parts for large systems, they can really affect large systems. And the next speaker is Steve Camilleri from Speed. Is also Steve. I'd like to thank you. Wait, let me. Okay, yes, I was going to unmute your microphone. I would like to thank you for participating, because I know it's late, but I know you've done this before. But with you, we're going to talk about something, also additive manufacturing, but something very different. So we're going to talk about the direct production of large parts. So I guess I'm going to just turn the controls over to you to understand more about how your technology works and what it can do.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, yes. And now I'm gonna turn the controls over. So you are now the presenter and you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, just a second. All right, is it working?
Yeah, yes, it is, yes.
Great. All right. Well, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to have a listen to our presentation. So, as David's mentioned, I'm the CTO of Speed3D. We're an Australian startup company working in a new kind of metal printing technology. So, a bit of background. So, everyone knows technologies like SLM, fantastic ability to make parts, incredible geometric freedom, but you have to pay the penalty in terms of cost and time. So these kind of parts tend to focus on very high value parts. So we've come into the industry trying to change this paradigm and get away from your traditional kind of medical, dental, aerospace. So the kind of industry we want to compete in is the casting industry. So casting is the way that you make metal parts cheaply. It's been around for about 5,000 years. Takes a lot of infrastructure, a lot of equipment and tooling required to make casting work. You typically need to do casting in large batches. It's not cost effective in small batches. And it's very difficult to manage that process. So we want to try to make the same kind of parts that casting can make, rather than the same kind of parts that SLM can make. So we're targeting real end users. The idea that people might be able to avoid downtime using 3D printing technology, either printed on site or very close by, I think is here, and we want to participate in that. We're currently involved in a range of very interesting remote projects where we're looking at printing parts on demand. So the picture here you can see is a iron ore mine in Australia. That conveyor belt goes for 300 kilometers. So you can imagine it doesn't take much for that to go bad, and it's quite difficult to get it to go well again. So we're here to make metal parts on demand at production speed and cost. That's our vision. So I have a little video here of our process. You can see it manufacturing a propeller on the right. This is real time. Compared to SLM, our printing process is about 100 to 1,000 times faster. We make very good quality, high density metal. We put a lot of work into our materials development, and that's really what we're delivering, is good material. And the process is quite cheap. It's quite flexible in a range of volumes. It allows you to print on demand. It's very easy to access, and it's very low cost. So I'll race through this part. This is the background on the technology. A lot of this is available on our website, and I'd rather talk about maritime case studies. So I'll just zip through this. So this is our Lightspeed machine. You can see here, roughly speaking, there's a robot arm which holds the part as it's built. There's a spray nozzle pointing upward. Over the robot arm hovers over the spray nozzle. You bring in your geometry through our cloud process into the machine and load the powder. And the process uses a cold spray of compressed air at about 1 kilometer a second to smash the metal powder into the part and build it up. So it's all done without heat. This is our Lightspeed machine. This is our small machine. Does parts up to about 4 kilograms. And this is our newly launched product, Warp Speed, which will do parts up to 40 kilograms. So this is starting to be a normal kind of size for the maritime industry. There's a range of interesting materials we can do. Copper and aluminium are our traditional materials. We do very well with those. So pure copper is our electrical and thermal material that has very high performance in that market segment. Aluminium 6061 is our favorite alloy, and we use that for mechanical problems. So whenever there's a need for light parts that are very strong, aluminium is perfect for that. 6061 is particularly good alloy for marine, as it's very corrosion resistant. Now we have two other materials that we've been developing for some time. The development's getting close to being complete, and that's aluminium bronze. So the wheel you can see in the center of the screen is done in aluminium bronze, that lovely gold color, and 316 stainless steel. Broadly speaking, this is how our process works. We have these four main stages. So the design stage is where you prepare your CAD geometry or your scan geometry. You must bring some geometry into the process. We run a simulation, which will give you a print preview of exactly what the printer will do, including anything that's not ideal. So you get to see all the defects in printing, and that gives you the ability to work on them before you print and waste material. And that generates the toolpath for the printer to use. You then load the machine with fresh substrates and powder, start the print process, so you can see it printing that electrical enclosure. And then once it's completed, remove the part and post-process. So typically, we would do a basic heat treatment and a machining process. So this is the case study I wanted to talk about. We've recently done some work with the Australian Navy, which has gone very well. So you see in the center of the screen here, a cam lock fitting. So this is a pressure hose fitting. This is made from a 356 casting alloy. It's prone to corrosion. And as you can see, it's quite corroded after a relatively short period of time out at sea. So these are a known failure item and a known item that's difficult to source. So we have an authentic problem with this part. It's difficult to get precisely the right part on exactly the day when the part fails. And so we're hoping that 3D printing can help to solve that problem that they have. So we work with Charles Darwin University here in Darwin, Australia on this project. It was a collaborative venture and went extremely well. So the proposed solution we came up with, firstly, we wanted to establish a compliance framework. So this is something that's starting to become very common in 3D printing, is the idea that you need to find out how to make that part acceptable to use once you've completed it. You can't just print it and prove that it's good. You've got to generate the necessary paperwork to make sure that that part's acceptable to use in the real world. So in this case, there's a military standard those parts are made to, and that made it very clear what we had to do to make that part comply. So from that standard, we're able to generate the shape, the geometry. We could then 3D print and machine that part. And then that fell into a risk assessment process, which is becoming one of the more common ways to validate 3D printed components for processes that have some critical nature. So in this case, we found that we required a pressure test and a geometry test, so a measurement, precise measurement of certain dimensions on the part. Then we proposed to do a test and provide the evidence and then use the part. So on the right there, you can see two examples of the part that we generated from the standard. On the left, with the yellow-green cross-section, is the part as it's completed and machined. On the right, the red part is really the 3D printed blank. So that's the part that's something like a cast blank, which has machining allowances on it and gives us the ability to machine it to the precise tolerance. So once we have the geometry, we load it into our software, TwinSpeed. So you can see a screenshot in the bottom left there. So the orange part is the geometry brought in from CAD. We then set some parameters about how we would like it to print. So typically the process of setting up that print would take 3 to 5 minutes. And then the job goes off to be processed and takes generally 10 or 20 minutes for a job this size to be fully processed. One of the outputs of that processing is a simulation. So the green part that you see on the right there is a simulation of the part as it will print. And you can see that it's a little wavy. There are some interesting effects on the corners. So this is exactly how the part will look when it comes out of the printer. So one of the advantages of our process is it's quite predictable. And this means we don't need to do so much trial and error as might happen in other 3D printing technologies. So we completed the part. So you can see we did it in copper as well. Copper is actually one of our cheaper materials. So if the machinist wants to practice machining, then we make a copper part for them. It's the cheapest way to do it. So there's a copper one and an aluminium one. So that part was then tested. On the right there, you can see a test certificate from a NATA approved laboratory. So that was tested up to very high pressure, very high overpressure, and passed with flying colors. Bottom left, you can see the corroded ship part. And on the right, just to the right of it is the 3D printed part. In the center down there is us on the ship testing out that it does indeed make the pressure. So it was quite a successful project. So the printing cost, we estimate to be about $100 if you were to just print one. So that's a case where the printer is being lightly utilized. However, if you're able to utilize it more regularly and you have a series production style arrangement, then typically you're making parts like that. It's about a 300 gram part for about $20 US. The estimated printing time, so it's about an hour for the one-off. That's in a mode where the printer guarantees what it will do. But for production, where you're allowed to cut some corners and optimize some things, you can get that down to 10 minutes. So it's a very rapid way to solve the problem. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for that, Steve. That was definitely very interesting and totally, very much separate from what we discussed with Valeria. So we talked with you and Valeria. We talked about two different metal technologies. Our third speaker is Francesco Belvisi, who is co-founder of Ocor. And with Francesco, we're going to talk about how composite materials come into the picture. Also with a specific, obviously with a specific focus with to maritime and marine applications. So Francesco, I'm gonna turn the controls over to you to get an idea for you to give us an idea of what your technology is capable of doing. Let me just do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are the presenter now. So we see your screen. So you can share your presentation whenever.
Wait a minute. You can see my screen just now?
Yes, I see.
Okay. A minute to put full screen. Hi to all. Thank you for listening to me. I'm Francesco Belvisi, and to me was also very interesting listening about metal 3D printing, but our focus is on plastic part. We are a small company that is a startup from Italy, from South Italy, and we use also robotics, and we print part in with carbon fiber filled plastic, usually polyamide. Just to give you a general scenario of our company, we have lots of technical partnership, and we work with a company for developing hardware and software part, material company, and a certification company and test, and we provide service for printing semi-finished products, and we do that for our clients in like manufacturing companies and shipyard or part or company that work in the field of composite. Just to tell you a very short story about us, we started with the research of complex and optimized structure for sandwich core geometry. So we had an initial partnership with CRP Group, that is a company expert in SLS technology with very stiff polyamide solution, polyamide carbon reinforced. And we did many tests about coupling this material with conventional continuous long fiber composite and textile. And in the second period, we decided, we started at the step to develop some components for bolts, but with the time we approached making a bigger part. So we did some tests with hello, with BAM company. With BAM company. Sorry, I heard some echo on my. Scusate, Davide.
I'm sorry. I can hear you fine, but maybe I should mute my microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Let me just do that.
Okay, so we did some tests of our model with BAM, a USA company that did 3D printing at big size. In our approach to research for high performance thin layer marine material that are suitable for marine application, we developed a solution with a material from Levos and a custom-made extrusion system and software developed by us for controlling the robot. And so we started making a very big part in quite short time with very thin wall. So, for example, if you see the component in this part are done that are section of an entire boat. We did some months ago. You should consider that all about like this, the production time is full time 24 hours per days was around 1 week, and the wall you see there is a corrugated sandwich structure. The wall are less than 1 millimeter. And this kind of solution give lots. We received lots of awards, like also the National Award for Innovation, and we have presented many parts in many conferences around the world in the marine field and 3D printing area. So lots of company talking about this solution, but what about our vision and mission? We see that we started from our background because we were yacht designer and builder, and is a field that is doesn't have lots of automation in the production. These are generally very expensive making prototypes and custom-made units. So in our approach, this instrument has a very great potential, also from the ecological point of view, because we for the first time we are using on a medium or big size unit thermoplastic material that can be reused. Another element of our approach is that we can manage new kind of shapes that are optimized by topological optimization, and so usually you cannot use in big size components this kind of structure and structural layouts, because are very complex to produce, and because of the conventional production system. So for one product of our solution is called O-Shape, is the approach we have in the manufacturing of the hull, and the another kind of product we call O-Molds, that is the way we can also produce even some molds for some part of the boat. For what concern the technical challenge, technological challenge of our system, we are always in a developing process, and so in our future approach we will integrate continuous fiber placement, and because in this moment we are only printing with composite with short fiber, and we do a second step with composite lamination over the 3D printed structure. And we are always pushing and developing the freedom of printing, because we don't print only in longitudinal and parallel layer, but with 3D printing system we control the anisotropy of the printer, so we can print following the preferential shape of direction of the layer. Also, we've always worked from the design point of view of the product to integrate multiple function and elements inside of the designed part. From what concern our solution, just to make to understand better, we have a robotic support, an extrusion system that has lots of control and integration to control the process. We worked so much on the software to have a exact calibration and control of the dimensional and the speed, dimension of the speed of the robot. So we directly control the robotic system. And one part very important is the monitoring of the process, because it is crucial for controlling the too much high level of temperature or too much lower that can bring to melting the part or to have a very poor adhesion between the layer. And also we have a range of material for different solution for different application. In the case of the boat, we found we developed together with Levos a kind of plastic that is very stiff and resistant to marine environment, and we did a lot of tests for aging and water absorption. What going on, as I was told before, we with our solution is something very new in the marine field, the opportunity to make mold that are in thermoplastic. As usually we believe that there will be in the nautical sector a shift from thermoset resin matrix and to thermoplastic, because there are lots of threats, problems related to the reuse and dismission of boat mold at the end of life cycle. And with our solution, there is not only the possibility to recycle, but also to imagine, to think to some closed process system in which the company can reuse the same material for making other stuff in a second stage. In our approach, there are many areas that works together to the generation of our system, because from the design point of view, we did lots of optimization with no structural constraint. We, in the phase of drawing and designing the element, the microstructure of corrugated element, we can optimize the deposition phases and the structure, the density of the lattice structure. From the machine, we have developed a lighter and ironic system of extrusion that is custom made for a robot, so it's very light and it has very precise control of the material that is placed on the layer. From stuff that is very special that we do is the final result that we can, because we can have very thin layer on big structure. So from the client benefits, we can have starting from this element, we can have in many applications a weight reduction, enhanced customization, and integration of complex geometry. Let's think to when you make some composite part in marine industry, in boating, we can organize since the design the space for wiring, for cable, for special components to be inserted in the composite part. Also from the time of production, and we can really reduce the time compared to conventional production system, and should be very fast in the near future, making a new product with less pollution and less time. Here we make I make a simple some examples, some products we did, where you can see a rudder of the racing boat we are doing, a tiller, a part of the motorbike, an exit for a motorboat ship, a motorboat. So when you make a rudder, there is a lot of job, and there are very thin, complex parts to produce.
Francesco, I'm sorry, I have to ask you to wrap it up a little bit, to leave a little space for the discussion. But
okay. I just short. In this schema, you can see there are lots of improvement from the time, the cost, and the weight reduction. This is in this render you see this picture you see the boat we did for making a regatta, and this is the a racing sailing boats for a ocean race. These are the kind of service we do: of shape, of mold, and engineering consulting. Just I run fast about the market, where we did lots of estimate on the market. There is a big potential for market in the composite industry for 3D printing, and just I run fast on this area. I would say, just to present our team, we are a team with we are on me. I am on the R&I and operation director, with another guy on the R&I manager. We are the business development director and finance director, and this is ended the slide. Thank you for attention.
Thank you so much for that. There's really so much to talk about. And in fact, one of the questions that came up was, sorry, let me, here we go. One of the questions that came up is you mentioned that you use reinforced materials with carbon fiber. What kind of resin do you use? You said polyamide. Is there a specific polyamide that you use, or several ones?
We use more different polyamide. Is a mixture of polyamide, but one formulation is based on polyamide 6, polyamide 6, and one on polyamide 12. And we use also different concentration, different carbon fiber reinforcement from ratio. So we have some formulation with 20, 30, and 35. Basically, these are the range that we use depending on the kind of application, the kind of structural requirement, in the kind of the even the cost of the product. So this is the general application. We have also we use continuous carbon fiber and epoxy matrix in mixed application, where we have the core in polyamide and the skin in epoxy and carbon.
Thank you for that. And the next question is for Valeria. So if Valeria, you may have to unmute your microphone.
Yeah.
So this is the question. I'll read it because it's a little articulated. But so is the surface roughness on the SLM fabricated part a limitation for hydraulics applications, and or does it make it mandatory to use very fine layer thickness and fine powder?
I say
maybe if you want to answer the first part, then I'll ask the second part.
Yes, no, it's a typical question. Probably the person is a technical expert, because we receive a lot of time this question, especially from hydraulics technique, because the roughness of the surface, we say is not a problem, because compared to casting parts is not so different, or maybe sometimes it's better. In the internal channel where the oil flows, we have calculated and make some tests also with the Italian university to verify if the roughness could be a problem. But in reality, the test confirm that the fact that we can have a curved channel instead to have 90-degree angles intersection, as in the traditional manufacturing, we have an improvement of the flow. So at the end, the oil flow is better compared to the traditional manifolds. And where in the parts, external parts, where we need a very good coupling, for example, the ports and the cavity, we used the machining. So the external ports are machined as in traditional way, and then we install valves or cartridge or what else. So we say that roughness is not a problem. We have done also some tests to cleaning the internal channel. We have done both, say, vibration and chemical testing. But at the end, we say that it's better than the casting parts. So we confirm that additive manufacturing is very good for hydraulic manifolds. Of course, for special application where we have some special needs like space, weight, or special function.
Thank you for that. And before we go on to the next question, I'm going to launch a poll. So you just to kind of get a better understanding of who our audience is. So go ahead. It'll be live for a little bit, and then we can go on to we'll continue answering the questions, and then we can go on to the next poll. So the next question is also for Valeria, and specifically, it's have you? And this is a question we're all often wondering. Have you started using metal 3D printing of your products for full serial production? And if so, what challenges have you faced? And I add, if not, what are the challenges that are making it difficult to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, also another good question. I think we are working on serial production. At the moment, we have only small series for spatial application, like small mobile machinery or small hydraulic systems, where there are, special needs. For the high production, I think we have to wait a little bit that the machine producer will improve the productivity and to have lower cost. But for example, for small components like spool or special component in the hydraulic valve or systems, we can say that it's possible to have serial production of, for example, 1,000 or 10,000 pieces. But what is important is not to compare one-to-one the traditional production to the 3D printing, but to find a good design that justify the use of additive manufacturing. So it's important to have a special performance, for example, for a spool or special shapes, and then it's possible to produce serial production in a profitable way.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So I'm going to go on. I'm going to leave the poll running for a little bit longer, and I'm going to. I have a question for Steve and for everyone, really. What do you find are the main requirements that you need to meet for maritime industry applications? What I mean is, what kind of requirements do parts need to have that you're addressing with your technology?
So it's a good question. The maritime industry, we've noticed, largely centers on corrosion. So if you're in the market for so as we sell machines for solving parts on demand type problems, and the lovely combination that we like to see is complex parts that wear out all the time, because they're the kind of parts that people really get bothered about and really need to find some solution for. So corrosion is fantastic from our point of view because it's constantly wearing things out, and it gives us the opportunity to try and solve those problems in a better way. So in terms of the maritime industry, I'd say corrosion is number one. After that, size. Small parts really aren't that, we haven't found to be very common, but this counts for both oil and gas and maritime. Everything is sort of, a couple of kilograms or more. So yeah, I'd say it's those two things.
Thank you for that. I think I can turn this question over to Francesco as well, if you wanted to add something. Oh, sorry, Francesco. Wait, I think your microphone is on mute.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh,
sorry. Okay. Please, can you repeat, because I had a break in the line?
No, the question is, what kind of requirements do you need to address for marine and maritime industry applications? So what are the main requirements that you try to address with your approach?
Yeah, our focus in general was to push on, except from some general elements that are making components that can resist in harsh environments. So marine environments is very aggressive, but our focus is on the light component and enhancing high performance part. So that's why we're focused on carbon fiber composite, and we always are oriented for making this kind of application. That was from we believe that from this starting point it's very easy to control other kind of application, but we believe that our kind of approach on research on optimized structure that you can do only in this kind of product, there is an effort and a cost that at this moment should be justified in very special application for high performance. That was our general approach.
Okay, and so I'm gonna launch the next poll, and I have another question for actually, I think that everybody anyone of our panelists can answer, and I'm gonna start with Valeria. What do you think is limiting and is going to be limiting companies from adopting additive manufacturing faster? So what is slowing down adoption, if anything?
If I'm speaking only about the metal additive manufacturing, I think it's the cost at the moment for the machine and the powder. But I think that in the future, of course, this will be not maybe a problem, and the people also will be more open to adopt this technology because we see a lot of benefits. For example, if I'm thinking about maritime, the main advantage is to have very fast spare parts. That's very important for big vessels or for example, oil and gas. We talked at the beginning that oil and gas is very similar to maritime. To have a very fast spare parts, it's important and save a lot of money. So the cost of the part is not so important. And also, I think to have a better performance in the parts, like if I think about manifolds, if we can save energy and consumption of energy using a better produced manifolds, for example, also it means that we can save cost in the all systems. So the benefits are there. What is important is to convince people that additive manufacturing is a good technology.
Yeah, great, thank you. And Steve, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so certainly we've come into it firmly believing cost is the main barrier. But now that we've solved the cost problem, it would seem there are other barriers there. I mean, metal 3D printing has been around. I mean, EBM processes have been around for about 20 years now. And for that whole time, really, there hasn't been the kind of experience curve reduction in cost that you would expect from a new technology. So I think people are a little jaded about that. And a lot of big companies have really backed away from 3D printing technology because the cost hasn't been coming down as fast as the projections have shown. And so we're having to now get in there and give people the confidence back to give things a try. And so I would say it's a crisis of confidence, convincing people that that the technology is there's a lot going on. It's very complicated, but it's worth giving a try.
Francesco, do you agree? Is this the same kind of experience you're having? Francesco, I think your microphone is still.
Sorry.
There you are.
Sorry, I totally agree with Steve, and in general, the kind of feedback we had is very similar. Even I believe that there we'll need to see with the time how will the market evolve, and how will be more common this kind of use by the client. In this moment, we are also working on very specific, in the first step. And just now, we are working with, especially with some company with special needs in this moment.
Very good. And Valeria, there's another question for you from about whether you have looked into binder jetting technology for production of manifolds.
I say we evaluated other metal 3D printing technology, maybe in the future, but at the moment we see that the SLM or laser power bed fusion is the best that give us the most high density product, good compromise between mechanical properties and lead time. So maybe in the future, but not at the moment. We have not tested this technology.
Yes, I'm gonna add to that probably the binder jetting technologies, the metal binder jetting technologies that are available today, may not be a perfect fit for some production at this time. But there is a lot of talk about metal binder jetting coming, so there will be probably opportunities in the future. The other question is for everyone. They're asking from the audience if it's possible to receive a sample part. I guess we can if you'd like to write us, we can probably interface with all these companies to understand whether that's possible. I'm not sure. I guess it would be a small sample part. Okay. Next, so Francesco, they're asking also, what is the maximum size that you are able to produce in one run, in one step? So
just now, the biggest elements we produced are like something like 3 meters for 1 meters and 20 for 1 meters and 70. But this size just now is related. There are some limits just for keeping the thermal condition and the size of the robot just now. Probably we can, there is a problem in managing very big parts, but just now for us it's very comfortable to stay in this kind of size. But we imagine that in the near future we can work in a bigger area to produce models or molds just in one shot. We are printing at the maximum size we can print on a robot without rail.
Okay, well, we're actually running pretty late, so I think we can close it here. As I said before, anybody who wants to send more questions, you can do so writing us at webinars with s at 3dbpm.com. You can find all this information online. We will be following up on this with articles on 3D Printing Media Network, 3dprintingmedia.network, and By the way, in case you're curious, one of the polls came in, and 88% of the audience voted, and 89% of the audience is familiar with additive manufacturing. In case you had doubts, and only actually, I'm sorry, 89% already uses additive manufacturing in their line of work. So we you know, we obviously have an audience that is quite familiar with these technologies, and of course, I guess you never stop learning, because we're still. I think Steve before mentioned about, you know, EBM being around for so long, and yet we're still at the very beginning of the evolution curve for any of these technologies. I think there's so much more to. So many more directions that they can grow into, and so many new technologies that can further evolve. So without further ado, I would like to thank you so much. Thank you everybody for, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our audience for participating. And we will see you here for our next webinar, probably next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm gonna close this. Okay, here we go.
Ciao.